and you might get a notification to that effect.
No.
Go back to your camera and see what.
Okay. All right.
You know, I think a lot of guys started with.
Yeah, I am continuing to admit people right now, but if you can go to ahaslides.com, that's A as in Apple, H as in happy, A as in Apple, slides.com, and then type in FB test 21 at the top. I'll type that into the chat again real quick.
Are you okay being blacked out?
And I'll type that in real quick. I think.
Shane, top of what?
Let me do a quick share screen. Hold on just one quick second. Got a lot of children activity here.
If you have to speak, then you have to unmute that. Got it?
All right. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down and make sure everybody's kind of muted for right now. All right. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to do a quick share screen, and I'll show you everyone how to kind of get there as you're logging in. So let me share my screen real quick, and then we'll get started with some items. Okay. So if you're opening up a web browser, you can just go to www.ahaslides.com. And then I'm going to have to move this out of the way. Then up here at the top, what you're going to want to enter in is F as in Frank, B as in Baker, or F as in foot, and B as in ball, football, test 21, and then click join. And I can't exactly remember what the next screen will look like for you because I'm the presenter, but pretty soon you're going to get an opportunity to type in like a screen name. And so be as creative and as fun as you want. Like I said, this is being recorded for posterity, so do try to keep it clean. But if you want to have some fun, go ahead. Like if you want to put your first name, last initial, something, so we know who's on top of the leaderboard, all that kind of a thing, and have a bit of fun with it. So it's ahaslides.com, and then when you get to the page, go ahead and type in FB test 21, and I think that might take you to a screen that is showing our logo. In the meantime, would you also please, for those logging on, type in your name and your official's ID number, if you can remember off the top of your head, for attendance purposes and taking of minutes and so forth. So to be respectful of everybody's time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick here. Where is it? There we go, stop share. And real briefly, while we got a couple more people logging in, we're going to do some quick housekeeping things. So again, one, meeting's being recorded. To ahaslides.com, go ahead, type in FB test 21 at the top there. And a couple quick reminders. One is we're going to be going through the test. Not all the questions are loaded on to the quiz, but most are, and we'll kind of go through a rapid succession, and we can answer questions about any quiz tests that you didn't get an answer to, that kind of a thing, and we can talk more about those at the end. We hope to be out of here somewhere between an hour to an hour and a half, just depending upon how much conversation. And the test is due September 22nd. This test is for postseason consideration, pass a certain playoff round. You get 2 chances at it, and to access the test, you go into the MHSAA website, you log in under your name and yourself, and then you go to official services, and then there will be a list of exams that are available for you to take. Like I said, September 22nd, and the due date for everything else is September 22nd. So your varsity football schedule, entering that into the MHSAA website. This year's a little different for your availability. You have to go in there and affirm what dates you are available. Before, it used to be an opt-out. Before, you would go in and select which days you're not available for. It's the opposite way around. So now you have to go in there and mark, yes, I'm available for these playoff dates. Otherwise, they're going to assume that you're not available. And that's no bueno if you want to get a playoff game on that particular day. With that kind of housekeeping, before we kind of get into everything, I see that Bob is on here, and I'm going to unmute, ask Bob to unmute himself real quick. Bob, check and see if he has anything he wants to kind of announce. And
Okay.
there you are.
Shane, you there, buddy?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, very briefly, just tell the guys to keep their arbiter up to date. And the only other thing I would remind everybody, in the OAA now, we're using 7-man, so let's please make sure that 6th and 7th man are engaged. Make sure they're earning their money, I guess is what they're telling me. So I don't want to go backwards, so let's make sure that that 6th and 7th men are engaged. I would respectfully ask everybody to do that. Other than that, I haven't got much to ask, other than that. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, it's all yours, Shane. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Admit. Okay, so with that, Bob Foss, do you have anything that you kind of want to announce up front here? You did share via Huddle, and again, if you are not currently receiving any Huddle videos from us, the MDAO, you'll want to reach out to Bob Foss about that if you are a member of the MDAO. He shared one really interesting scenario that doesn't happen very often, where a fair catch was called after a punt, and it was the end of the half, and the receiving team elected to attempt a free kick to get the score. And so, Bob, I don't know if you kind of want to share about that experience. I don't know if it was your experience or what, but that was one that I've read about, but I've never actually seen myself.
Actually, it was Mike Gentry that shared it. I happened to see it too, but yeah, very unique scenario. I know that we've had a play myself where that was an option and coach didn't choose to free kick after a fair catch, but that it was just cool to see, I suppose, is probably the best description.
Now, when I watched the play, the mechanism for it was the referee was underneath one of the goalposts, and I'm not sure if it was like a line judge or a head linesman or who was back there with them, but 2 people took the posts and everybody else lined up as though it was a regular free kick, the 10-yard restraining line difference between the 2 teams. And the kicker just took a swing at it, came up a little short, but it was kind of neat to see it in action.
The most significant probably point of that play is that it's the same as a regular free kick in that it can be returned. If it goes across the goal line, it's dead. The only difference is that if it goes through the uprights, it scores 3 points.
Yep.
I
And
don't think there's a mechanic anywhere for who should stand under the post. Whatever crew that was probably made a pretty good guess the way it looked to me. Although I did notice one detail, and I haven't got a response again because I don't know what crew it was. But if you notice, when the ball is getting to the left side of the screen, you see that there are zeros on the game clock. The only way that this play could be attempted is if there is time left in the half, or Well, I mean, I guess they could choose to free kick anytime that they have a fair catch, but probably only going to see that if it's the last play of the half, or
The question would be is if there was 1 second remaining on the clock after the awarded fair catch and they elect a free kick, when would that clock start, I suppose? That's a good point.
that would start the same as any other free kick, which would be after the ball was legally touched
And
by
if,
the receiving team.
and if the ball goes through the plane of the goal line without being touched, that time would remain on the clock and the receiving team would have it at the 20-yard line with 1 second remaining.
Correct. Or whatever amount of time was, yeah.
Right.
There'd be no time off the clock. And on that particular play, the clock is at 0. Now, on the punt, which preceded the free kick, we can't see the game clock. It may have gone to 0, in which case I'm not sure how they had the free kick, or it may have, maybe it should have been stopped at 1 second or 2 seconds, and the play clock operator didn't stop it appropriately, and then the crew decided not to put the time back on the clock. I suppose that's possible, but again, knowing that if we have a touchback, receiving team's going to have time to run a play.
Okay.
So we should put time back on the clock. I'm not sure how that play was run with zeros on the game clock, but that would be something that we'd want to correct before we have the kick.
Yep.
Or we shouldn't be having the kick if there's 0 on the game clock.
And for everybody's benefit, I did pop in Bob's email address, Bob Foss' email's address about receiving huddle films if you're a member of the MDAO. So
And I have one other play scenario before we get to the test that I'd kind of like to go over with the group so that we're on the same page with how this will happen, because I know if we don't all see it this weekend, certainly a couple of the crews will see something this week and in future weeks, and hopefully we can get on the same page with how this should be
about
rolled.
fair. I hope it's about encroachment, and that was a cat, by the way. I hope it's about encroachment versus false start.
Yeah, with regard to the snap down on extra points or any field goal.
Right. So I had one quick question. Tony Boulay asked about the previous scenario. What if the fair catch was awarded to a penalty and time expired during that play? Can you attempt with an untimed down? I would assume that you can, because it was an awarded fair catch. The person doesn't have to actually make the catch as long as it was deemed an awarded fair catch. So just wanted to kind of mention that. But Bob, go ahead, talk about the snap down on a PAT, a field goal, etc.
Everybody should have in their huddle. Again, if you have huddle access, if you don't, we'll get that fixed. I know I got one email already, but in the preseason training section, there is a false start and illegal shifts with about 14 plays. And if I can find share screen on here, I'll show you one play. There it is. Oops. Post disabled. Can you let me share my screen, Shane?
Oh, yes, absolutely, I can. Yeah. I am going to see.
I mean, I'm sure that we all know what we're referring to, but and I know the video is going to be a little bit choppy, but I can show it anyways, and we can just cover this quickly.
All right, Bob, I switched you to the host, and you should be able to share screen. When you're done sharing screen, I'll need you to click me and have me be the host.
I can manage that. Okay. Let's take this back just a little bit. the speed at which the offensive linemen here are putting their hand from their knees to the ground is what makes this an obvious attempt to draw the defense into encroaching. You'll also notice that this up back all of a sudden leans down. That's unusual. Now, we don't have to trouble, as they say, if the defense doesn't move. I'm not sure if Jack's on here. If he is, don't keep him muted because he's going to disagree with me. But if the defense doesn't move, we don't have to have a flag here. But if the defense jumps, as in this case, the foul should be on the offense. They're allowed to shift. They're allowed to move their hands from their knees to the ground. But if they do it quickly, abruptly, then that foul has to be on the offense. I know everybody's muted, nobody's saying anything, but
This is one that I think as a crew, you know, you always want to talk about in pregame, because I know we don't do it consistently across the board. And sometimes that is one that maybe we don't want to call because it's a semi unusual one to call, and you're not looking forward to the explanation. But that is one we need to consistently, I agree, call as a false start and not an encroachment.
how do I get you to be back to the administrator here?
So you would click on my name under the participants and hover over the more. And then in the options say
Make host.
or something like that.
Got it. Okay.
And I am now the host. All right. And I'm double checking, see if anybody needs to be let in. Everybody looks like they're still let back in. Because somebody asked me to let an individual back in, but I'm not seeing anybody in the waiting room. I'll keep an eye out for it though.
Yeah, there were a couple that I threw in there while I was the host.
Okay, awesome. So, all right, so let's get started. This is why you're here, talking about the test. So I am going to, I believe, see, switch to full screen, high instruction bar, switch to private, stop presenting. Okay, so I believe, Bob, are you logged into ahaslides.com by any chance?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so if you went to ahaslides.com and you typed in FB test 21 and you click return, what's the next thing that you see?
I see the MDAO logo with a happy face and a surprised face and a sad face and a thumbs up and a heart underneath it.
Okay. I believe the next thing that I do while I'm presenting, if let's see here, I got 23 people who are logged on. I think the next opportunity is going to be for you to write in like names or a unique identifier or something like that. So please, the more people that log on, there's 23 people logged in. We got about 45 people. If you are able to and you're on a desk or something, desktop or laptop, please open up another window browser and go to ahaslides.com, FB test 21. The more the merrier. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click to the next slide here. And so now, Bob, are you still unmuted? Can you tell me what you're seeing now?
Enter your name.
Yep.
And choose an emoji.
All right, so pick an emoji, have a little bit of fun of it, see how many people pick hearts. But like you say, you can either use your real name, you can use a nickname, do keep it clean, that kind of a thing.
We got a lot of choices here.
Yep. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to share my screen so everybody can see what I am seeing, and so that we're recording it.
Are there any emojis that describe blind as a bat? Bingo.
All right. people are,
Okay.
and I'm gonna keep giving people a few more opportunities, and we'll keep seeing some names pop up. While you're doing it, got 14 players, 15, got 23 people logged on, 16. Give a few more people an opportunity to, got 19 now off 23. And once we get going, people can still log in afterwards, but it's more fun, when we have everybody logged in to start. All right, 23 out of 24. All right, so awesome. So I got 24 out of 24 logged in. I'm going to start the quiz. So what's going to happen is we're going to see the quiz. You're going to have 30 seconds to answer the question. All the answers, you can only select one right answer, so no more multiple ones. You get points for speed and you get points for being correct. So if you answer quickly but you're wrong, you get nothing. You get 0 points. So the correct answers get you points, and the quicker you make a correct answer, the more points you get. Again, I don't have an award for anybody, but this is just for a little bit of fun. So we're going to go ahead and get
It's not working.
Shane, it looks like you're talking, but we're not hearing.
There we go. I'm back now. So I think the difference is, important free kick versus scrimmage kick, right, Bob? And even that, I don't think there's much of a difference. But free kick, if Art touches it anywhere on the field, either before the 10-yard restraining line or after, it's free game by the kicking team to recover. Yeah, we good? All right, so I'm going to go on to the next question here. Let's see who the leaderboard is. Shadow and not Clark Kent. Is that you, Mr. Oshansky, not Clark Kent? All right, okay, going on, we're moving on, keeping this moving. Question 2. First and goal from the B7. A39 fumbles and the ball hit the goal line pylon and bounces back to the 3-yard line, where A65 recovers and then carries it into the end zone. What's the result? Does A get the touchdown after it hits that pylon? Is it second and goal for team A from the 3-yard line, first and 10 for team B going the other way from the 3-yard line, or is it a touchback? First and 10 for team B from the 20-yard line. So team A had the ball and fumbled it, and it hits the pylon. Boom. Love it. Everybody got that one correct. So I think the important point to remember here, Bob, is that goal line is out of bounds, and it's considered out of bounds.
Absolutely correct, Shane.
Yep, not too much else to add after that. All right, Shadow. Who is Shadow? All right, moving on here. Question 3. Second and 10 on A30. A1 takes a snap, drops back to pass. He scrambles, runs to the 33-yard line, runs back behind the line of scrimmage to A27, to the 27-yard line. Then he throws a forward pass for a touchdown. What's the result? Is it touchdown, 2nd and 15 from the 25-yard line, 3rd and 15 from the 25-yard line, or is it 3rd and 25 from the 15-yard line? And again, if you haven't figured it out, this is number 6 from the previous test, from the test. Okay. So
Is that Brennan breathing over your shoulder?
that is Brennan breathing. Well, that's Gray breathing over my shoulder. Brennan's the one breathing over here. But it looks like half of us got this one right. So Bob, I think we might need to talk about this one a little bit more.
Well, fortunately, on the MHSA test, they give us the rule reference. But an illegal pass is one that is thrown when the passer's foot is beyond the neutral zone. In this case, the passer is 3 yards behind the neutral zone when the pass is thrown. It does not matter if the passer has been beyond the neutral zone. The only thing that matters is where he is when he throws the ball.
Yeah, good question. So for everybody's benefit, I apologize. So this is question number 6 on the test, which corresponds to letter A for an answer. The previous questions were question number 4, which the previous answer was letter D, and the first one was question number 2, which was true, letter A. So we're moving on. All right.
Oh, and you get a lot of points per question.
Yeah, you do get a lot of points per question.
There's not Clark. Clark.
I think it's a friend of mine. All right, number 7, 1st and 10 at the 12. A1 throws a pass to A21. A21 possesses the pass while airborne in the end zone. A21 is carried out of the end zone by B1 and down to the B2. 1st and goal at B2, or is it a touchdown? This is number 7.
No answer.
You think you know the answer? What do you think the answer is?
I think it's 1st and goal and B2.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's see. Let's see what the answer is. It's a touchdown.
But
It's
he didn't have his feet down.
yeah, good question. He did not have his feet down, but because he was brought out of the end zone by the defender, and it was not his momentum that brought him out of the end zone, that is why he would be aware of the touchdown. Now, Bob, this is one of those ones, there was a few like this on the test where they were like paired up as questions. The sister question to this one is number 8, where the difference is it was A21's own momentum that caused him to catch the ball and then land at the 2-yard line.
They could add one more question. Let's call it a triplet question if you wanted. To number 7, if the defender had pushed the receiver rather than him carrying the receiver, would have a different result.
What would that result be if it was a push and not a carry out of the end zone?
In that case, same as number 8, the receiver would first make contact with the ground. That's where his forward progress would be established. But because he had been carried, I guess the philosophy behind the rule is he would have come down in the end zone if it weren't for the defender actually catching him and carrying him. I don't know that I've ever seen that, but I suppose it's possible to happen. It would be more likely that while that receiver is in the air, he is pushed out of the end zone and lands at the 2, and then he has to get back into the end zone. But being carried as opposed to pushed or his own momentum is what makes the difference on question number 7.
Gotcha. So that was 7, which corresponds to B was a touchdown, and 8, which it would result in a 1st and goal from the 2-yard line, which was letter A for number 8. And we don't have 8 on this little slideshow because they were so similar. We just talk about them together. All right. Cinzer and Shadow, neck and neck still. All right, next question, which corresponds to question 9 on the test. It would be legal for A56 on the line of scrimmage and in the free blocking zone to block B45, who is 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage below the waist if the block takes place within the free blocking zone. True or false? Can somebody in the free blocking zone, line of scrimmage, block somebody below the waist if that defender did not start at the line of scrimmage? True or false? False. Great answer.
Yeah.
Yep. Bob, point of emphasis this year, right?
Yep. Well, actual rule change for that matter.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. So really, I mean, there's very few instances now where you can block below the waist in high school. I think that's the prevailing kind of theme and the direction that everybody's headed in. All right, moving on here. That one doesn't need much explanation. So that corresponds to B, false for number 9. All right, okay. Next, number 10 on the test. Can A87 in motion and in the free blocking zone at the snap block B97, who is also on the line of scrimmage and in the free blocking zone at the snap, below the waist? A87 block was immediate and initial after the snap. So somebody in motion in the free blocking zone at the snap, blocking a defender on the line of scrimmage in the free blocking zone immediately at the snap below the waist. Can they do that? Yes or no? Okay. All right, Bob,
Got it right and I got it wrong.
a little more different, not as much consensus on this one. Can you kind of talk about maybe why this is still not a legal block?
To have a legal block below the waist, we still have to have linemen blocking against linemen. If you're in motion, you can't be a lineman.
Yeah, and it's that straightforward. It's got to be lineman on lineman in the free blocking zone, and that block has to be boom, immediate. They can't stand up, back up, and then go down. It has to boom, immediate. So when you see here in motion, when you're in motion, by definition, you can't be a lineman. All right. Any questions? Does anybody have any questions on that one?
So, blocking below the waist, there's really 3 relevant points. And that's, we have, all players involved in the blocking are on the line of scrimmage and in the free blocking zone at the snap. The contact is in the zone and the block is immediate and initial after the snap. So they have 2 of the 3 covered on this question, but the third part, the man in motion, is not a lineman. So even though he's in the free blocking zone, he's not on the line of scrimmage at the snap.
All right. So that was number 10 on the test, and it corresponds to the answer B on the PDF version of the test. Moving on. All right.
These
Is that guy
are
on-
so first.
That guy got all of them correct?
He might have. I don't know. We'll find out. Let's see here. Let's keep moving.
I don't know who seasons it is.
Number 12 on the test. 3rd and 6 at the A5. Team A fumble is loose in Team A's end zone. B72 intentionally bats the ball backward towards his own goal line 100 yards away to A3 and B6 to the 3-yard line, and B6 recovers. So what's the result of this play? Who gets to have the ball? Is there a penalty involved? What happens here? B6 intentionally bats it towards his own goal line. Okay, again, maybe not quite half of us got this one correct. And so So Bob, go into this one. This was one that I know when I looked up the rules references on the exams. I learned something I didn't learn about potential batting exception, but it's not for this situation.
Yeah, I can tell you, if you can see a player who's about to bat the ball, just yell at him. Don't bat the ball, because batting and illegal kicks get confusing for all of us. Simply batting a grounded fumble in any direction is illegal anywhere on the field. The basic spot is going to be the previous spot for fouls doing a loose ball play. You'll find that under 10.4.2b. Since this foul occurs behind the basic spot, we enforce from the 5.
Yep. So, I mean, I can imagine a situation where B72, like, why would B72 try to intentionally bat the ball out of teammates?
Or I'm sorry, it's actually beyond the basic spot here.
Yeah, but the reason why he might have batted the ball was because he might have seen a teammate that he was trying to get the ball to outside of the end zone. And that's why he might have batted it away from his own, towards his own goal line. But intentionally batting the ball 10 yards, and so it would be teammate's ball, 1st and 10 yards up from the 5 15 yard.
Question, what does that mean?
Does anybody have any questions on that? And that is one of our,
There should be.
as one of our 2 cats and one of my 3 kids. All right, moving on. Let's see how everybody's doing. Oh, not Clark Kent snuck into 2nd place. Bob Kelly's in 3rd, but Zinzer is still up there in 1st.
Where's not Clark Kent?
All right. Number 13. A98 is running for a touchdown. Line judge makes contact during the run with the Team A coach in the restricted area at the 30-yard line. This is the first sideline interference. What happens? Is touchdown good and force UNS on kickoff or try? Touchdown is good and force UNS on the kickoff and force it on the try. 1st and 10 at the B45 or 1st and 10 at the B35. So I know as a near wing, this is a very real possibility, a very realistic thing that can happen. So most of us got this right. Most of us, regardless, understand that if you're in the restricted zone and you are that near wing and you are running in that area and you bump into somebody or somebody knocks you over or hits you, no sideline warning. UNS, 15 yards. However, Bob, maybe you can explain a little bit more about, even though it's live ball, we're not going back or anything like that, and or the UNS kind of how that applies.
It kind of fits in the category of a live ball foul that's treated as a dead ball foul. So, non-player fouls are, even though they happen when the ball is alive, we're just going to enforce the penalty as if it were a dead ball foul.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on that one? That again, that was number 13 on the test, corresponds to letter E. All right. And again, if you do have a question, feel free to pop off mute, or you can type in the chat. I gotta say that I don't know how well I'm monitoring the chat right now, but we'll try to keep an eye on it. All right. All right, usual suspects still up there. Here we go. Next question. Corresponds to number 16 on the exam. Free kick at the K40. K55 touches the ball at the 48. R75 picks up the ball at the K49 and carries it to K35, where he fumbles and K88 recovers at the K36. What's the result? Who gets the ball and where do they get the ball? So it looks like first touching by K before the 10 yards. The receiving team picks it up, fumbles, and kicking team recovers. Most everyone got this one correct as well. That's awesome. And that is right. The receiving team, would have the option, and I'm sure they would want to get the ball at the point of first touching. Bob, you see anything else that you got a foot stomp home, or I think most people get it?
No, it's the first touching really just, it gives provided that there are no penalties, is going to give the receiving team the option to take the ball at the spot where it was touched. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, that's really kind of about it. Is that nice and straightforward? So again, that was number 16 on the test, which corresponds to the letter E. All right, now Clark Kent close the gap a little bit here. All right, the next question, which corresponds to 17 on the exam. Free kick by K1 is muffed by R20 at R15 at the 15-yard line. The muff is recovered by K88 at the 17-yard line and then advanced into R's end zone for a touchdown. What's the ruling? Does K get the ball or does K get the touchdown? And if they get the ball, where does it go? All right, most of us know that that's definitely not going to be a touchdown. And there was a little bit of distinction of where we get the ball. Do you get it at where the muff occurred, or do you get it where K recovered the football? And it is where K recovered the football, and the play would be dead at that point where they recover it. Bob, although it wasn't on the test, this does happen from time to time. What if there was no muff by the receiving team? What if the ball just hit the ground and K picked the ball up and ran it in for a touchdown? Would it be any different?
No, we can't advance. We can't advance a kick, and that's what this ball is. It's still a kick, whether it's touched or not. The kicking team can recover an untouched free kick beyond the restraining lines or neutral zone, which is 10 yards here. It just can't advance the kick. If it's possessed and fumbled, they could advance. But if there's no possession by the receiving team, all the kicking team can do is recover the ball and it's dead at that spot.
Yep.
And in addition to that, if we get a little bit of a moment where we're unsure, it's okay to come back to the spot afterwards. We let the thing play out. We had a muff. The kicking team picks it up and goes into the end zone, and we didn't kill it immediately. That's not our preference, but we can still go back and say, okay, we know what we had. The kicking team gets the ball at the 17. They just don't get the touchdown.
Yeah.
And this happened at Athens in the semifinal game 4 years ago.
Yes.
I
Yep.
think it was Cass Tech and Chippewa Valley, maybe.
Yep. It was about 4 years ago, I think. And didn't they line up for a point after attempt, and they were about to run the point after attempt, and then somebody blew the whistle and realized, wait a second.
Yep.
That touchdown.
That I don't remember that detail, but that certainly could be possible also.
Yeah. One final variation. It doesn't happen as often, but it definitely can occur, especially in all the multitude of high school games that we play. If there is a free kick and somebody really pooches that ball on a high arc on a free kick, and the receiving team just forgets where they are and allows a kicking team member to run underneath the catch or the kick and catch the ball before it hits the ground or hits a receiver. By definition, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is kick catch interference. Correct?
I was distracted. I wasn't following that.
That's okay. Free kick, high into the air, before it hits the ground or a receiving team member, a kicking, a player from the kicking team runs underneath to catch it.
Oh, now you're really testing me.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, like a good lawyer, Jim Dorman, correct me if I'm wrong. Jim Dorman, you don't ask a question you don't already know the answer to. So I'm pretty sure I know the answer to that one. But that by rule, I believe, is kick catch interference.
You're correct on a free kick.
Yeah. So at least in high school, the ball has to be hit the ground or touched by a receiving team member before it can be recovered by the kicking team. And it, in most instances has to have gone 10 yards unless it's touched by the receiving team. So a couple different variations, couple ones that have popped up on tests of years past, and also that can still semi regularly occur. So let's move on. I think I sufficiently beat that one into the ground. All right. Okay. Top three haven't changed. All right. Moving on. This corresponds to question 20 on the test. Straightforward. Clipping in the free blocking zone is legal. True or false? Clipping in the free blocking zone is legal. And I think most people answered this question, but one or two haven't. So we're going to have to just sit here and wait silently and ponder the possibilities of this question and the answers, potential answers. False.
Only one person had it wrong.
Yep, most of us got this one right. And basically the short answer is clipping is not legal anywhere. And that's the easiest way to remember it. You good, Bob? Got anything for that one?
No.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. All right. Okay. All right. It's not a lot of change there on the leaderboard. All right. Next question. 21 on the test. B77 intercepts a pass at the 3-yard line after running a few steps parallel to the goal line. He is hit and fumbles the ball, which hits the pylon on the goal line. So the defender intercepts on the 3-yard line, runs parallel to the goal line, gets smacked, ball pops loose, hits the pylon. Incomplete pass, safety, or touchback. Okay, so about 2/3 of us said safety and about 1/3 of us said touchback. You want to break this one down for us a little bit, Bob?
Sure. We're trying to determine what's the force or impetus. I'm getting my rule books confused here for which is the right terminology, force or impetus, but how'd the ball get into the end zone? Let's just simplify it. And in this case, it's the fumble that puts the ball into the end zone or out of bounds in the end zone, not the pass. Momentum isn't a factor here. It's the fumble that put it in the end zone. Since B put the ball in the end zone, in their own end zone, it's a safety.
Yeah. So again, that goal line, pylon, that pylon is considered out of bounds. And then once you know it hits that out of bounds, you have to ask yourself, how did the ball get there? Just like Bob said, how did the ball get there and what force put the ball there? That corresponds to letter B for the answer of number 21 on the test. Okay. Everybody's cranking away here. Awesome. Nearing the last few questions we have loaded up. Number 23, the trailing the runner A35, the defender B88 grabs him by the nameplate, forcefully pulls him backward. A35 stumbles, but continues for a touchdown. This is not a horse collar. True or false? Forcefully pulling the nameplate and pulling the runner backward, but the runner doesn't go down. He breaks free and continues for a touchdown. Horse collar or not? True or false?
I think it's true. It's not. I don't think it is.
It's true that this is not a horse collar.
Isn't it a horse collar where you grab like the neck of your jersey collar?
For the falses, think of the foul as being a horse collar tackle. If the player doesn't go to the ground, it's not a tackle.
Yeah, and this is one that you'll often have the coach screaming at you about.
Absolutely.
Maybe he doesn't go on and continue for a touchdown. Maybe he stumbles or something and kind of under his own force goes for another 5 yards, and that's forceful backward pulling by the defender allows him to get tackled 3 or 4 yards down the field, but otherwise he was maybe free and clear to get the touchdown. But because that force did not pull him backward and tackle him, it's not a horse collar. And that's often a misconception, and you'll get people screaming at you about. All right. That was number 23, letter A, true on the test. All right. Everybody's still getting in some pretty quick answers here. All right. Next one. Number 24 on the exam. R1 makes a fair catch on the far hash mark. Before ready for the play signal, Team R's captain says, hey, can we move the ball to the middle of the field from the far hash mark? Fair catch was made. Can they move the ball along the yard line from the hash mark to the middle of the field? Most of us got this one right too. And there's a few situations where they can choose where they want to put the ball into play. Bob, I'm not going to get all of them, but some of the common ones, a free kick. You can put it anywhere in between the hash marks. On a point after attempt, whether it's for a field goal or whether it's for a kicking point after attempt, 1 point try or a 2 point attempt, they can put the ball anywhere between the hash mark. After an awarded fair catch is another one. One that often gets asked that I know I've seen, there is an illegal kicking procedure by the kicking team and the ball is kicked out of bounds. And after the coach, are we going to put it at 35? Where do we put it? That kind of a thing. If it goes out on the right sideline, that ball gets put in play on the right hash mark. They can't move it along the sideline, as I understand it. So that's an example where a lot of people think you can put it anywhere in between the hash marks, but in reality, if it's a free kick that goes out of bounds and the receiving team accepts that penalty, it has to be put back in play closest to the hash mark sideline where it went out of bounds. Anybody have any questions or comments about that scenario?
If you're looking for those lists of situations that Shane was rattling off, You can find it on rule 436.
Yep. And
436. Yeah, 436. That's it.
and again, as a reminder, some of us have been in the book a lot before, but for those of us who are newer, you have a rule 436. You can usually find some corresponding casebook plays. If you open up the casebook and you go to casebook 436, there's usually some case plays directly associated with that rule. All right, moving on. See how we're doing here. Oh, CZ is holding tough at the top there.
Wait.
All right. Number 25 in the exam, B1 intercepts the pass at the 2-yard line. His momentum of the catch carries B1, who intercepted it, into his own end zone. While trying to escape A2's grasp, he's running around. He fumbles the ball out of the back of the end zone. What happens? Safety for team A, touchdown for team A, touchback, or the momentum exception applies and team B gets the ball at the 2-yard line. Again, great. Most people got this one right. The momentum exception applies. Not sure there's too much, I guess, more to say about the momentum exception, Bob.
Only one thing mechanically, and this kind of will piggyback on what Bob Check was talking about before we started. If we're going to have an interception between the 5-yard line and the goal line, for us to have a good chance at recognizing momentum, our deep wings need to be there and be as close to stationary as possible. You know, at the moment of truth, you know, when that ball is coming down to the defensive back, when he's about to intercept it, if we're standing still and we're able to process what we're seeing, we'll have a better chance to recognize that momentum might apply. And we have to know whether that ball was caught in between the 5 and the goal line. So mechanically, or being sound mechanically, is what can help us to rule on this correctly.
This is one that definitely we want to get right or wrong together as a crew, preferably get it right. And that means, you know, and that means getting together quickly, bringing information. You know, did you have a look at it? Yes. Did his momentum bring him into the end zone? I don't know. Well, then move along. You know, if you have definitive information, bring it. As far as, you know, what brought him into that end zone? His own momentum or otherwise. Let's see where we are here.
Oh, not Clark Kent. He got up.
Oh yeah, he's up there. He's number 2 now, isn't he, Gray? Yep. All right, last one that we have. This corresponds to number 28 on the test. 1st and 10 for team A at B12. B18 comes in late, and B15 leaves the field through the back of the end zone prior to the snap. Dead ball foul for illegal substitution. 1st and 5 at B7. True or false? Is this an illegal substitution for that 12th man on the defense running off the field through the back of the end zone?
Yeah, I think it's true.
You think it's true?
I don't know though.
You're not sure, huh? Well, let's find out if you're right. Hey, you're right. You're right. It would be.
I've gotten 2 questions right.
You've got 2 questions right. Okay, well,
Out of
that's
the 4 I've seen.
That's out of the 4 you've seen. Well, that's not bad. That's, you know, better than some of us. So, so for this one, this is one that, you know, you see semi-regularly, like especially at the sub-varsity level or something like that, Bob. I mean, it's one of those situations where even if the snap is not imminent, they run out of that back at the end zone. That's going to be a legal substitution. I mean, I don't know if there's a situation where it's like, by rule, this is what it is, but in practice, we usually look the other way. I think this is one that it's usually pretty much automatic. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in legal substitution in most cases.
No, you're right. And just to clarify, it's the back of the end zone that matters. If they can go out of the side of the end zone on their team's side of the field, but not the back of the end zone. Not sure why that's the rule, but it is what it is, and we enforce the rules as they're written.
Mhm. Yep.
That's pretty easy ones, fairly clear on what's expected of us and the players.
Good clarification. All right, let's see the final leaderboard tally. Ooh,
See Sinzer.
ooh, C. Sinzer.
And then not Clark Kent.
Not Clark Kent got second.
And then
Bob Kelly.
Alien. And then Surgical.
Surgical alum. Yeah, that's interesting.
Fred Castello.
Yeah.
Why is there a poop emoji?
Well, that's because, you know, lots of people like to have fun.
And then Shadow.
And then Shadow. This is awesome. I appreciate everybody engaging. I hope you found this to be a little bit fun way to engage in the test. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now if I can.
I like best that Workman trained me, didn't get 0. And he's trying to blame it on Dave.
55 people.
I'll blame it on Dave too. Does any, but now I know we didn't go through all of I know we didn't go through all the questions precisely, but does anybody have any other questions that anybody wants to go over specifically that we didn't directly address in the quiz itself?
One more question about the illegal batting. I asked about, does the spot of the batting matter? And someone said it does, but it's determined by the play before or what preceded the bat. Can we just go a little bit more about how to enforce it at the spot of the bat?
Right, and let's, for a quick reference, can you remind me again what number question on the exam that corresponded to?
Question 1, and then where's the other one? I think there's 2 about it because the other one's in the end zone.
12.
So the scenario as it was originally talked about on the exam, it was 3rd and 6 from the 5-yard line, team A's 5-yard line. So they're backed up kind of towards their goal line. Team A fumbles the ball, ball's loose in the end zone. The defensive player intentionally bats the ball backward towards his own goal line. So he bats it in the end zone, back towards a teammate who recovers it. B6 recovers on the 3-yard line. And so that is an intentional batting of the ball. And the question is how do we decide where that penalty, where that 10 yards is assessed? So because the bat occurred in this instance behind the line of scrimmage, and the penalty occurred, against the offensive team, we would take it the 10-yard line from the 10 yards from the previous spot. And Bob, I believe the answer to his question is, does the spot matter? The short answer is sometimes, because what if that illegal bat occurred not behind the original line of scrimmage, but in front of the original line of scrimmage?
Right. So in that case, we would enforce the bat from the spot of the foul, as opposed to the basic spot. So The idea is if the, let me read it to you.
Yep.
Let me try to figure out where I want to start with. Unless otherwise listed in section 4 and 5, which is rule 10, 4 and 5, a penalty for a foul occurring during a play is enforced from the basic spot, with the exception of a foul by the offense, which occurs behind the basic spot during a loose ball play or a running play. That particular foul is enforced from the spot of the foul. So for penalty enforcement to be simplified, you got to figure out what that paragraph means, which is if we have to know where the basic spot is for any particular type of play. If the foul occurs behind the basic spot, we want to enforce from
By the offense.
right.
Hey, Bob,
yeah.
what page is that on the rule book?
79.
Yeah, page 79 of the rule book. So if you don't have an opportunity to go through it right now, you can review those enforcement rules, basic spots, enforcement spots, etc. on page 79 of the rule book.
Because you have four scenarios, right? You have offense batting in front of the line of scrimmage or at or behind, and then you have defense batting in front or behind the line of scrimmage, right? So it seems like the only time the spot matters is for offense behind the line of scrimmage.
No.
Behind the basic spot.
Here.
That's a good question because that
I'm trying to think of the easy way to word this. If it were a defensive foul and they batted the ball behind the basic spot, which is the line, the previous spot, we would enforce the foul from the previous spot because they've offended the offense. So somehow the offense has to get the better part of the deal, maybe is the way to simplify it. If they, let me use the numbers instead of basic spot, previous spot, that's all confusing. If we snap the ball at the 5 and they bat it at the 2, we enforce from the 5. If they bat the ball at the 10, we enforce from the 10.
the defense, if defense does the batting.
Correct. If it's an offensive bat, it would be the opposite. They snap from the 5 and they bat the ball from the 2-yard line, we enforce the foul from the 2. I mean, unless we end up with a touchback, but sorry.
Why haven't you read?
Say that
How long?
time. We didn't we couldn't pick that up.
First you did what? What was the first thing you said?
First, I went there.
If the offense bats in this case,
You
they
gotta
snap
start
at the
coming
5
back.
and they bat.
Yeah, I don't think Trayvon's asking a question. There we go. We got him on mute.
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah. So no, that's a good question. So again, that's a good question because it doesn't apply just to this question, just to this rule. It applies to, you know, administering just about any penalty very often. And so page 79 and the few preceding pages prior to 79 can really benefit all of us. Feel more comfortable. Any other questions that we didn't specifically cover that you wanted to double check on and verify? Again, keep in mind that we get 2 cracks at taking the test this year and passing by 80%. So,
Shane? Whoops. Shane,
yep, go ahead.
can we please go over question 5?
Question 5. So I'll read it real briefly for everybody's benefit. 4th and 10 on K's 30-yard line. K1's punt is muffed by R2 at K's 40-yard line, is picked up behind the neutral zone by K3 at K's 25-yard line. As our players rush him, K3 quickly passes the ball forward to an eligible K4, but the pass is incomplete. What is the result? The result is kicking plays get us in trouble. That's the result. But, but in all honesty, does anybody want to offer up the correct answer or answer? I'll take any.
Kicker's ball. 1st and 10.
Yeah, you're not gonna see this enforcement watching football on television. So whatever they do in the NFL, whatever they do in college, doesn't match this.
The answer is A.
Yep, the answer is A. It's K's ball at K's 30-yard line.
That's the previous spot, right?
Correct.
Can someone take a crack at the rationale? I understand that's the
right.
ruling, but why is it ruled, why is it written this way?
I'll take a shot at this. So a scrimmage kick that's touched by R beyond the neutral zone will belong to whichever team recovered it. Whichever team recovers will get a new series. So team A recovers, even though it's behind by the time of line of, when they recover, it's behind the line of scrimmage. So they can throw a forward pass. They're behind the line of scrimmage. It happens to be incomplete. So an incomplete pass, you go back to the previous spot, but because a scrimmage kick was touched by R beyond the line of scrimmage, a new series is awarded to Team K.
Correct.
Cover the kick.
So another way that probably is a more common example. Imagine a situation where the scrimmage kick is kicked by Team K, muffed by Team R past the neutral zone, and maybe that ball bounces around. I'm going to make it up. Maybe it was 4th and 20. Maybe it was 4th and 30. Not a particularly good punter. But after the muff, that ball is recovered by Team K, but it's not recovered, towards the original line to gain. So they would still be, quote unquote, short. But because essentially ours touched it and muffed it and kind of resets the downs in a way, that ball can be recovered by Team K anywhere on the field, and they'll get a brand new series.
That is correct.
All right, can I throw a what if on this question just for knowledge sake?
I'll allow it, but you're on a short leash there, Bob.
All right. So he throws a pass to eligible K4. K4 catches the ball and gains, let's say, 6 yards. So he's short of the original line to gain. Are we saying now it's 1st and 10 for K?
1st and 10.
1st and 10 at the K36?
Spot where he got tackled.
Where he got tackled.
That's
So it's a free play, effectively a free play.
effectively.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a good one.
I hope I never see it.
I say same here. Now that we understand it, I hope that we never see it. So again, that was number 5, which corresponds to answer A on the exam. Any other, and frankly, the only reason why I didn't include that one on the test is I have a character limit when I type in the questions and the answers, and that one was too long. So any other questions that we didn't cover that you want verification or have a kind of question about why the answer is what the answer is?
Hey, Shane, how about question 30?
Question 30, the last one. 3rd and 10 at Team A's 35-yard line. A1 is running a pass route down the sideline. As the forward pass reaches his position, he tips the ball, steps out of bounds, and then comes back inbounds at the 50-yard line, where he completes the catch as he falls to the ground at Team B's 46-yard line. No foul, illegal touching, incomplete pass, illegal participation. Anybody want to give the answer?
That's what it is. Illegal participation.
It is illegal participation, which corresponds to answer D. And frankly, probably the easiest way to explain this one or to understand it is by reading those particular rules references, 961 and 962. And it really is, you know, if he was shoved out of bounds by defense, I think, Bob, if I remember right, that would matter. But it doesn't say that he was shoved out of bounds or anything like that. He essentially went
out
out
on his own.
On his own volition. And that's what makes him coming back in and then catching it illegal participation. I'm going to do a slight variation. If he's not the first to, you know, last to touch it, first to touch it or something like that.
There's no such thing as.
Right. It's still going to be illegal participation if he went out of bounds of his own volition. Another good one. That corresponds to answer D for number 30. Any other ones that we feel are worth having a quick discussion about?
Would you want to just give the answers to the other questions we didn't cover real quick?
I'd be okay with doing that. I honestly can't remember. So how about we do this? So what I'll do is, for those of us who maybe have already taken the exam or what, I'll do a few quick closing comments, and then what I'll do is I'll hang on here and go over those final few questions. Again, I think we've covered most. Kind of confirm some of those responses for the rest of us, as well as I'll stay on for those of us who maybe aren't as familiar with navigating the MHSAA website. And I can show you and go through how you do a few things as far as where you type in your availability, where you type in the varsity games that you're working, where you go to take the exam, that kind of a thing. But with that said, Bob Foss or Bob Check, do either of you have any closing remarks, anything to kind of look out for or to pay attention to early in this football season?
I have just tell everybody stay healthy and get plenty of rest and do the best you can. Thank you.
All right. Bob Foss, you good?
Good, nothing else.
All right. Well, again, I'm going to stay on. I'll cover those last few questions, but for the rest of you, if you're going to jump off, I really appreciate you logging on. Hopefully you had some fun if you participate in the exam. Kind of helps, you know, change things up a little bit.
Jane, that was pretty cool. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Okay. So I don't think we covered number 1, correct? That was 2nd and 5 on teammate's 30-yard line. A1 takes a handoff, fumbles as he reaches the line of scrimmage, ball's in flight. A2 bats it forward where it goes out of bounds at A's 37-yard line. You know, is there a foul? And the answer is short, no foul, because it's not. It doesn't say that it's an intentional. So that's the key word. It has to be an intentional bat. We talked about, I don't think we did 3. Following any 4th down play, the game clock will be stopped. True or false? Following any 4th down play, the game clock will be stopped. And the answer is true.
Yes.
That's why, for those of us who are new, I remember when I first started football, people would start flashing symbols and they'd be doing this, and one of them was this, the hand, the crossed arms. And for everyone who's maybe newer, that's the universal signal that the next play or after this play, the clock will be stopped. That's a reminder to the crew.
Well, by rule, you should call it, but most crews just let it go if they don't draw them off.
Okay. So now we talked about number 8 because that was the sister question in number 7. But as a reminder, number 8 was letter A.
When in that particular case you're talking about, the defense were outside, so you guys called it a snap down. It was a good call. But I saw that. I saw the movie there. I saw that game. I watched the game.
Okay. Moving on.
You're right. It's false start. Exactly.
All right. I think Frank's talking to somebody on the phone. Number 11. I don't know if we covered number 11, but I'll do so briefly either way. Guard A69 is lined up on the line of scrimmage in the free blocking zone across from the defensive lineman, who is also on the line of scrimmage in the free blocking zone. A69 engages. He engages with B78, then he disengages and then goes to block B78 below the waist before the ball has left the zone. So the ball is still in the free blocking zone. The block is legal because the ball was in the free blocking zone and both players were lined up on the line of scrimmage initially with the free blocking zone at the snap. So this is a legal block, true or false? And I think most of us should know by now that when in doubt, a block below the waist is going to be illegal. And so this one is also legal because the action was not an immediate action at the snap between two people lined up on the line of scrimmage. So the answer is B, false for number 11, which means it's an illegal, it is an illegal block. 14. So 14 is related to number 13. Number 13, there's a run going down the sideline and the line judge runs into a coach in the restricted area. That's an unsportsmanlike conduct, even though it was the first sideline interference one. It was a unsportsmanlike that could be enforced on the try or on the following free kickoff. 14 is very similar, except a slight variation. During the run, the line judge has to run around Team A's head coach, who is standing in the restricted area at the B30 and throws a flag. What would be the result of the play? The short answer is it's letter C. The touchdown is still good, but because there wasn't that contact, you can start with a sideline warning, which doesn't result, because it's the first sideline warning, it doesn't result in any loss of yardage. So that would be letter C for number 14.
Hey, Shane.
Yes.
So a little bit different. I was working the chain crew for the quarterfinals last year, whenever. And as the chain crew, what happens if you run into a coach or a player along the sidelines?
Okay, that's a good one. So is there so you might have me stumped a little bit on this. So is there any penalty for let's just say Team B, for Team B interfering with the duties of the chain crew within the restricted area? And I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I doubt seriously there would be if it's, you know, two dads coming out of the stands to run the chains, but this was in the playoff and it was an actual, you know, KLA sponsored, you know, with regular officials doing the chain crew, in addition to obviously officiating the game.
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I don't know.
But
the-
it's no big deal. I mean, I was just curious because I was like, holy cow, that happened to me in a quarterfinal. So,
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, good question. I don't know the answer, but now I want to know. So I'll have to look that one up. By the way, Dave asked a quick question. If there was a running clock rule and we had a 4th down play on the test, after every 4th down play, the clock is always stopped. I think he technically, found a loophole that if it's a running clock, he is correct that 4th down play, 35 or 50 point differential, either one, the clock would not stop. That's a good-
Fortunately, I've had Belleville a couple times, so this is a fresh on my mind.
No, that's a good point. So there are scenarios where the clock would not stop, and it's if by rule there's a 35 or a 50 point differential in the game. That's a good one. I like that one. We'll have to let them know that technically that maybe that answer isn't completely correct on the exam. All right, number 18, I don't think we went over. 4th and 10 with the nose of the ball just touching the 20-yard line. The next pass is incomplete, which means the other team A, gets the ball. The officials should have the chain moved, but not the ball, so that the tail of the ball is now touching the B20, or is now touching the 20-yard line. So that the tail of the ball is now touching the B20-yard line. So in other words, I think we all often do this. And Jim, I see you still on here. Correct me if I'm wrong. So basically what this is saying, it's a little hard to visualize and verbalize, but we're taught to put the ball as often as possible on a yard line, with the nose of the ball barely touching that yard line. The intent being that if you know that ball touches at least the line 10 yards away, it's going to be a 1st down. Or if the ball, that's to help kind of avoid having some unnecessary measurements if you're on a turf field. But what happens if it's on the 20-yard line, that ball is just barely, the nose of the ball is barely touching the 20-yard line. 4th down, ball goes to the other team. You're still at the 20-yard line. Do you now move that ball onto the other side of the 20-yard line because we're going the other direction? Or do you still leave it sitting there in front of or behind now that 20-yard line? And if I am reading the answer correctly, the answer is true, letter A, that although I think in practice, a lot of us will kind of move the ball to the other side so that the tip of the ball's now, sitting on the other side of the 20. By rule, if we want to be exact, that ball should still stay on that same side of the 20-yard line that it was before.
Shane, real quick.
Yeah,
can
go
you
ahead.
go over, question 15?
Did we not go over question? Okay, yeah, question 15. So 18. So that's one of those by rule. This is how it should be. Although, and oftentimes in practice, this is kind of what we do. Number 15, 2nd and 10 at the 30-yard line, at the B30-yard line. Quarterback AA runs to the B28 before throwing a forward pass. B24, this is the one that I think is all kind of confusing. Oh no, yeah, B24 intercepts at the 20-yard line and returns to the B35 where he is driven out of bounds. During the return, a teammate clips at the 30-yard line. And so the answer, so basically it's what happens with this clip that occurred after the change of possession. And so the short answer is they would get to keep the change of possession, but the clip would need to be, the penalty foul will need to be applied 15 yards, from the 30-yard line where the clip occurred. Now, and unfortunately, a team A, can't like say, well, we don't want the clip, we want the ball back, we want to do it over. Once that change of possession occurs, if team B wants to keep the ball, they have to have that clip, or that penalty, that hold, illegal block behind the back, whatever it might be, after the change of possession occurs, they need to accept that penalty on their own team. So the answer would be letter A, 1st and 10 for team B at the 15-yard line. Okay, so 15, 18, 19. I don't think we did this one. Team A has 7 players on the line of scrimmage. 5 of them are numbered between 50 and 79. A1, the tight end, number 75, position on the end of the line uncovered, has one hand on the ground after the ready for play. He slowly picks up his hand and shifts farther towards the sideline, and then comes to a complete stop for 1 second before the ball is snapped. Team A gains 10 yards and a first down. What's the result of the play? Short answer is letter D, no foul. And the when you actually read the rule, it's essentially because he's positioned on the end of the line and he's uncovered, he can pick up that hand from a 3-point stance and reposition himself further down the line. The way that the rule is written, that it's those people who are between the snapper and the end of the line can't go down into a 3-point stance and pick their hand back up. But if you're on the end of the line, even if you're number 75 or a lineman or something, you can put that hand down and pick it back up slowly. So it's not like simulating a snap movement. You can pick it up slowly because you're actually on the end of the line. That's why uncovered was a key mention in that. Does anybody have any questions on that one? All right. I don't think we covered number 22. Number 22, 2nd and 5 at A30. A22 fumbles the ball as he reaches the line of scrimmage. The ball bounces high into the air. B40, the defender, leaps into the air at the 37-yard line, possesses the ball while airborne, and lands on the sideline out of bounds at A34. Who gets the ball and where do they get it? Anybody want to take a shot at this one for me?
I think it's a 3rd and 1 for team A.
Correct, because just like almost like an interception, that defense has to possess the ball and establish themselves in bounds. So that who was it? B40 would need to have caught that ball and gotten at least 1 foot in bounds. But he landed on the sideline out of bounds first. And so he never established himself with the possession of the ball in bounds. You can imagine as a near wing, this is a nightmare play for me that I have to think about and slow down if it ever happens. Imagine a loose ball on the sideline, teammate possess that ball's loose on the ground, and a defender trying to scramble and get the ball has half of his body out of bounds and then grabs the ball and possesses the ball with half of his body out of bounds. I'm going to have to explain to Team B's coach, who might be their Team B sideline right there, why they don't get the ball, because Team B was defensive player was out of bounds when he possessed the ball. Easy explanation and straightforward, but they're still going to yell at me about it. All right, 26, 2nd and 6 at Team A's 20-yard line. B1 is flagged for grasping, but not twisting the passer's face mask. The pass is incomplete and the penalty is accepted. The enforcement is, short answer is 5 yards and no automatic first down. Again, key difference between, high school and college, you can have a 5-yard face mask penalty. And in neither case, in high school, is it an automatic first down. All right. Did we do 27? Nope, 27 real quick. With just a few seconds remaining on the clock near the end of the game, Team A moves quickly to the line of scrimmage to snap the ball and stop the clock. A1 in the shotgun formation takes a snap and immediately spikes the ball in front of him. Are we good? Good play? Legal? Yep. That's changed slightly. Before we were telling shotgun teams who have never accepted a snap from underneath center to get up underneath center. But now that that team can get it, throw it straight down from the shotgun formation, and it is not intentional grounding. It's spiking the ball, stop the clock. 29, 4th and 5 at Team R's 20-yard line. The holder muffs the snap and the ball is loose on the ground at Team R's 27-yard line. Seeing a defender approaching, K1 kicks the rolling ball because it was spinning or something on the ground, all crazy, and he kicks it through the uprights. One that we'll maybe never see if we officiate for another 20 years, but by rule, it is illegal kicking. And it would be 4th and 22 at Team R's 37-yard line. And lastly, so that would be letter C for number 29. Number 30, 3rd and 10 at Team A's 35-yard line. A1 is running a pass route down the sideline. As the forward pass reaches, oh, wait a second. Did we do that one already? Yeah, that's the illegal participation one. I think we already talked about that one. That number 30 was letter D, legal participation. Does anybody have any questions about any of the remaining questions on the test? Okay, I don't see any comments in the chat. So very quickly, I'm going to do a quick share screen. And again, for those of you who want to jump off that have a good understanding of where to go for the test and some of these normal duties, feel free to jump off. Appreciate you staying on. But for those of you who would benefit, I'm going to quickly share my screen and kind of show you how to get to some of the finer points here on the MHSA website. All right, so you should be able to see my screen right now. Again, normally what you would do here is you would see a login button. And what you're going to do is you're going to click, you're going to type in your username, which is your email and your password. But because I've already done that, after you do that, it's going to take you to My MHSAA here. And underneath that, you would go to, on the left-hand side here, Official Services. And underneath Official Services, under the My MHSAA, are all these wonderful options. And this is where you go to take the football exam. Now, I have not done it yet. And so my status is showing as open. And I've not done it yet at all. And so it's showing me as 0 for 2 for my attempts because I haven't attempted yet. So I'm going to show everyone that again one more time. So MHSA main page, log in via this button. Under My MHSA on the left-hand side, go to Official Services, and then you can go to Exam. Now, for those of you who haven't had an opportunity yet, also look at Member in Good Standing. Make sure you're a member in good standing with at least one association that does football. It doesn't have to be us, but that's okay if you want to be. Some others you can do, you can look at availability and conflicts. This is that page where normally these are all defaulted to you're not available. So you have to actively go in here under, again, under My MHSAA, Official Services, and then you have to go into availabilities and conflicts and switch all of these to that you're available. And if you have any conflicts, maybe you're a teacher at a school or something like that, you can type in what schools you shouldn't be officiating in the playoffs. Rules meetings, we've all should have completed our rules meetings. If we're reffing any games, we have to have completed the rules meeting before we do a game. We should have all done that. Schedule. This is important. Football. You have to type in what varsity games you're officiating or intend to officiate in the position. It's not good enough to have them listed in the arbiter. You have to go in and you have to enter them in, and all you would do is you would select a contest date. You can type in host school. Maybe you can't remember exactly what the name of it is. You can type in, for example, Groves. Oh, look, it popped up Groves, even though it doesn't start with Groves. Same thing here. Maybe it was a Utica school. You can type in Utica and Utica Stevenson, Utica Eisenhower. The search function in these is pretty good. And then you can select what the visitor was. And then you can select what a position you were for. Don't forget to click your desired zone. Most of us are going to be zone 3, and you only have to do this once. You may be put in 9 or 10 games, but you only have to select the desired zone once. But I'm going to, and if you end up like not working that game, you can always delete it or you can edit it. So just because you type it in here, if it changes, you can go in and change it on this screen. Member in good standing, your schedule, your conflicts, taking the exam, and you can also look up your ratings and officials directory if you want to look up a friend you know you're officiating with, but you want to maybe find their email address or phone number and it's not an arbiter. You can go in here and you can look them up too. Maybe you're the R and you're doing a position card and you need to look up their officials ID number. You can do that via the officials directory. And real quick as well, slightly different. If you go to, don't go to my MHSAA, but if you go to officials without going into my MHSAA, but you go to officials, scroll down to sport specific content and then select your sport. And if you're like, if one of your friends is like, hey, did you see the officials bulletin that just came out? This is where you would find all the officials bulletins. You know, maybe a play clock video or some recent equipment rules. This is also where you can find a lot of other things that the MHSAA really wants us to know about. For example, an official signal document and some really nice, helpful tools like that. We've linked some of these tools to our website, MetroDetroitAthleticOfficials.com. But for the most up-to-date things, you go to the My MHSAA page, go to officials, sport-specific content, and pick your sport. If you want to get into anything specific for you as a person, it's My MHSAA official services, and then it's all in there. So kind of two different ways to get to two different official items. One is under My MHSAA and the other one is under just official services that you don't need to be logged in for. So before I stop sharing the screen and before I officially sign off for the rest of the evening, does anybody have any questions or anything right now about some of those logistical things?
Yes, Shane?
Yeah.
Under the schedule with the business about switching sidelines, at least what I've been doing is I've been clicking the line judge and head linesman position for a game. I've been clicking them both.
That would be fine. I think technically by rule, I only know this because I'm a line judge, that one of us gets determined to be the head linesman or the line judge, and that is usually determined by who starts first with the chains. But I mean, to be honest with you, the MHSAA, when they're looking at who should work what, you know, into the postseason, they're basically looking at, are you a near wing? Are you a deep wing usually? Are you a referee usually or not? You know, that kind of a thing. So I think it's fine doing it either way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Anything else? All right. Well, hey, I'll stop sharing the screen. I appreciate everybody staying on. I hope you learned something tonight and picked up some things. Again, feel free to reach out to me at my email address if you have any questions, which is just shanebuys@hotmail.com. Oops, here, let me send that to everybody instead. Boom, at shanebuys@hotmail.com or Metro Detroit Athletic Officials @gmail.com. But yeah, take that test. Don't delay. Take care of it. I did that once in basketball. And I was supposed to get a pretty deep postseason assignment, and I missed it by a day just because I got my days confused. So when you're thinking about it, complete the test. All right, everybody, have a good night. Take it easy.